Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to a moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by The Wellness Way, we're joined by our regular contributor, podcaster, and author, Dan Gilman. Today, he's joined by Luca Pannese, co-founder and executive creative director at Small New York, with his partner, Luca Lorenzini. Yes, you heard that right. Luca and Luca. In almost 20 years in the communication industry, Luca has worked with companies like HP, Timberland, Toyota, Netflix, Coca-Cola. That's just to name a few. He's won 35 Cannes Lions, in addition to over 100 international awards at the most prestigious advertising festivals in the world. In 2021, just 2 years after Small was founded, his agency was awarded Best Boutique Agency of the Year by the New York Festival's Advertising Awards. They joined me today to chat about creating positive change through advertising, balancing creativity and message clarity, and of course, raising awareness. Welcoming now to the show are my superstars on the microphone, experts on the microphone, Dan and Luca. Welcome to the show.
Hi, hey guys.
Hey, Zen. Hey, Luca.
All
Nice
right,
to
let's
see you. Nice to meet you here.
Nice to have you on. You are a trailblazer in marketing and advertising. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, guys. It's been an honor for us.
So, Luca, while you've created quite the career for yourself, today it is, to my understanding, that you first started out on a very different path as a Taekwondo professional athlete in Rome. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you ended up as an advertising man, co-founding your agency Small?
Yes, you're right. I mean, I started as a Taekwondo athlete. I was in the national team. And, when you're an athlete, you have some time to lay out on the bed and relax. You have muscles relaxing. But then I remember one day I was looking at one of these computer magazines and I figured out there was an opportunity to do some graphic design school, advertising school. And that's where I thought, well, why don't I think about this a little bit more seriously? Maybe when I finish my athlete career, I could be doing this. And I wasn't really good at school, to be honest. But when I found what I really wanted to do in advertising, I became one of those guys that is actually the first on the first seat, and he always with his hand high because I wanted to be doing this. And after 6-7 years, I found myself working in a proper advertising industry for more than 20 years in the big network, the big corporations, the big places that you might be familiar with, Saatchi and Saatchi, Weinar, Publicis, all the biggest companies in the world. And after a few years of that, me and my partner Luca Lorenzini, which I know and work with since year 2000, we decided, why don't we try to do something ourselves? Maybe there's an opportunity to do something different. Maybe it's an opportunity to bring the creative work that we do on a smaller level, more flexible, a little bit nimbler, faster, but with the same results, with the same kind of outcome. And
Wow. And Small was created. Now, you've had quite the journey, and I think you've garnered more respect than you thought in such a short period of time, and success. The reality is this is just the beginning for you. And I'm actually
well,
hearing your
thank you.
story. I'm really excited to see what else is in store for you down the line. Now, I know Dan has some questions as well. So, Dan, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, reflecting on your career, is there a particular moment or project that you consider a turning point for you personally or even professionally?
Can I name two, Dan? I think there's two moments.
Sure, absolutely.
Funny enough, the very first moment is strongly related to what we're talking about today. It was our very first campaign for Core Down. Core Down is the Italian association, the champions the right of people with Down syndrome. And it was our first campaign with them. The campaign was called Integration Day. A friend of mine, Federico, came to us and was like, can you guys help us with this campaign? At that time, we were working at Saatchi and Saatchi, and we were like, sure, let's do it. And they were asking for a poster. But then we said, do you think we can do a little bit more than just a poster? We may have an opportunity to create a bigger campaign. And they were like, yeah, sure. And so we created this campaign that's called Integration Day. And that was the most successful campaign we've ever done. until that moment that opened our eyes and way of working and an approach to ideas and creativity completely. The campaign was really strong, awarded in all the creative festivals, and still today is been mentioned as one of the groundbreaking campaigns that somehow introduce a new way of making ideas. And I guess that's when we decided, yeah, maybe this is what we should be trying to do every time.
Beautiful. And what was the other moment? You said two.
The other moment is when we decided together with Luca to drop the big corporations in 2018 and start small. And everything changed also once again. When you have your own company, somehow everything feels a little bit more real, a little bit more, it's your own thing. You're not you're not helped by anybody, and everything starts to be a little bit heavier, but at the same time more joyful. It's
a special time.
It's a special time.
And
yes.
Now focusing on one of your most recent campaigns, you collaborated, you just said, with Cordown to create an ad campaign for World Down Syndrome Day, which turned out to be an instant viral hit, and you gathered the attention of many outlets like CNN and People and CBS all over social media. I'd love to learn more about what went into creating the Assume That I Can campaign, and can you share with us the inspiration behind this initiative?
Cordown is an association that is made of parents and people that are actually living the life together with people with Down syndrome every day. Martina Fuga was the communication manager of Cordown. Martina mentioned there was a speech from Marta Sodano, who's an Italian woman with Down syndrome, in 2019 that happened at the UN, where she was talking about this self-fulfilling prophecy. And this was very inspirational for us, because she was actually explaining how when you teach someone, you actually help them learning the thing. But when you don't teach someone something, the person that doesn't receive education cannot learn, because you assume that they cannot learn. So it's like a virtuous circle.
It's a vicious circle.
Yes, exactly, a vicious circle. And that was for us a kind of revelation. We thought maybe there's something in this topic. And together with the insight of Martina, we started exploring how we could bring this to life. And when the idea was written and we all had the script and what we thought it was an interesting speech for a person with Down syndrome to say, we started looking for the right person. And we needed someone with Down syndrome who could speak in a way that could be very understandable, fluent, and that could speak fast. Because, in advertising, sometimes you have to stay within a certain amount of time. And when we found Madison Tavlin, which is this Canadian actress, model, sport, she does everything, we didn't have any doubts. We knew that she was the right person.
Fantastic. Now, looking at Small's portfolio of work, while you utilize a variety of advertising models, there seems to be an emphasis on video advertising. And as the digital world continues to expand, online video consumption has grown massively over the past decade. That's indisputable. So much so that many studies even predict a continual shift towards online video consumption over traditional TV as time goes on. What does this mean for advertising? Well, according to Biteable, advertising is the second most common reason for marketers to create video content. And the data reportal, January 2024 Global Overview, reported that more than half the world now uses social media, with 266 million users joining within the last year. Now, with this seemingly never-ending growth of online users and a clear desire for video content based on the rise of apps like TikTok, video advertising is clearly the way to go. Now, back to your past work at Small. You've created many socially conscious campaigns, such as the Assume That I Can campaign we just spoke of, amongst many others. But in working on socially conscious campaigns, how do you balance the line between raising awareness and ensuring the message isn't lost in the creativity of the advertisement?
Well, I think you cannot divide them. A good advertisement always start with a clear message. You always want to have your clear message stay throughout the whole story. Creativity is always then used to craft that message into something that is more interesting. But if you lose the message and all of a sudden it becomes just crafting and beautiful executions, that's when the advertisement is probably not less, it works less. It's less impactful. If you, just because we're talking about Down syndrome community and campaigns, if I just tell you the title of the campaigns we did in the last 3 years, those are basically messages. The latest one is assume that I can. The previous one was ridiculous excuses not to be inclusive. That's another message, right? And then we crafted it in a way. The other one was the hiring chain, which means the more you hire people with Down syndrome, the more they will be hired by someone else. So you keep the message at the core of the idea, and then you craft around it. I guess that's always what you need to do to make impactful and a campaign to stay in the mind of the audience, and they can associate them to a meaningful point of view.
Yeah, then my question goes into that. What role do you believe that the advertising industry, plays in shaping societal attitudes towards disabilities and inclusion?
That's very interesting. There's two ways for advertisers to integrate and include every sort of gender, color, people, abilities, disabilities. The very first one is when you actually do an awareness campaign, which is the one that we do for Core Down, for example, every year, which is a campaign that is meant to be telling people about a situation, about a condition, and what people can do to make whoever more included in society, for example. And that's the approach we did with this campaign. The other approach is the approach where you don't say anything, but you just include, but you just do what it should be done. We've seen so many campaigns lately, and I'm really happy about it, where people with Down syndrome are used as actors, models, from brands that are not connected with the Down syndrome community at all. And they don't even say anything about that. And that's another beautiful way of including.
That's a very powerful inclusivity.
Exactly.
Yeah. And according to the CDC, because I always go back to statistics, 1 in 4 adults have some type of disability, right? So it's incredibly important to spread awareness and promote inclusion for such a large amount of our population that are often forgotten or misunderstood. So it's great work, what you're doing at Small. And it's interesting that your agency is called Small, because this seems like no easy feat. Now, for aspiring advertisers who want to make a positive impact with their work, like you, what advice would you offer?
My advice will always be the same. Look for insights that are meaningful for people. Look for ideas that will make people either laugh or cry or think. Make ideas where people can look at whatever you're doing and go like, oh wow, this is interesting. Oh wow, I never thought about this. Oh wow, this is an interesting perspective. Oh, this is an angle that I never considered. You want people to always react to something in such a way, because there's so many other things happening on the devices that we use. Your best friend posting something, the latest streaming TV show, the $1 billion movie. So to compete with all of that, you have to have a point of view. You always have to have a point of view that is interesting and less seen. And of course, crafted in a majestic way. That's always another thing that it helps.
That's great. Finally, beyond the professional sphere, what personal values or experiences do you think you have most shaped your approach to your work and leadership at Small?
Yeah, I think starting as an athlete and being competitive and always wanted to put the hard work to try to obtain something, and most of the time not getting what you wanted to do because you don't train to always win. Sometimes you train to lose at the first round, got me into this will of, I don't know, maybe always try to do my best to try to get to what I really want. Figuring out an objective, say, I want to really make a campaign about this, or I really would like to do something for this kind of community. If you really know what you want to go, where you want to go, what you want to do, I think that's always helpful. And I know being an agonist uh, allow me to keep pushing no matter what.
You have come full circle, my dear. And with that, we are out of time. What an incredible journey. What an incredible career. What a brilliant and creative mind you have. I'm so, so honored to have interviewed you today.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for your words and for giving the community of Down syndrome this spotlight, and to us as well.
That was our Discover Your Potential segment, sponsored by the Wellness Way. That was the incredible Luca Pannese, co-founder and executive creative director at Small. Definitely be sure to check them out. They are large. SmallTheAgency.com or on the gram at Small the Agency. And of course, you can check out Luca's personal IG page at Luca Pannese. And of course, see more of Dan by heading to discoveryourpotentialshow.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.